Time to play. And good afternoon. Thank you for coming. I'm Mark Schneider, President of the Board of Trustees for Unity on the River. You may or may not know me. We are starting, and we're going to begin with our dear Shipley, Reverend Shipley Allenson.
Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we have our prayer, I just want to tell you a couple of things. Unity of Greater Newburyport had its first study group May 4th, 1994, 4 and a 4. We had our first service at the Newburyport 5-cent Savings Bank, February 4th, 1997. Newburyport 5-cent Savings Bank. I retired on 2014. May the 4th be with you. But what I really wanted to tell you is that we are 30 years old now. 30 years old. Wow. So let's take a moment and go into prayer. With numerology, the number 30 represents creativity, communication, and spiritual awakening. So I am knowing and affirming that this is the year that we wake up, that we find our true selves, that we enter into the realization of who we are as children of God, and that we remember that all things are working together for good. Nothing and no one is against us. We remember that God is our source, and the consciousness of God is our supply. When we started Unity of Greater Newburyport, as it was called, we had nothing. Nothing. We didn't have any donors. We didn't even take an offering until we were in the Masonic Temple. So we grew from nothing but God consciousness, God awareness, as Denise was calling it, up-leveling our thinking and our way of being, up-leveling to a higher and higher vibration. That's what's going to happen this year of spiritual awakening. We are going to up-level, we are going to hold the highest vibration for this center, knowing and affirming that all is working together for good. Now, sometimes people say things like, well, if there's no minister here, there's not meant to be one. No! What about divine timing? We are here in God's time. You know, we want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. We are here because we trust and have faith that God is working through us and as we align our vibration with the highest level of spirit. All things work together for our good, and we know this and affirm it today. And so it is. And thank you. I want to thank you all. You guys are doing a great job, a really great job. It's challenging, and you're holding the high watch. So I really thank you all. Thank you, this board especially. Okay.
Thank you, Shipley. So, I have the pleasure of telling you what we're going to be doing for the next 45 minutes or so, and then we'll just kind of do it. Okay, thank you. And I do want to tie in what Denise was saying today about Lent and giving something up. And I also wanted to mention last Sunday, Peter challenged us to pick something up to make it a practice. And I'll share those things with you a little bit later, and I want you to keep in mind what you have chosen for those two items. Today we're going to cover a summary of 2023, and we are going to go with the happenings, what the board has done, what the church has done. There's a movement on both property and minister searches, and what we're going to be doing upcoming in 2024. Then we'll go on to the Director of Operations report, the Treasurer report. We will present the Board of Trustees for the upcoming year for you to vote on and accept, and anyone that's retiring. And then we'll have a pray-out and we'll do a QA. It's my goal to respect everybody's time and have this done by 12:45. Possibly that's when we go into the Q&A session. If it goes longer than that, if it's heading towards 1 o'clock, I would like to follow this up with another meeting specifically for a Q&A session. And a thing about affirmative prayer. You may or may not be aware, and this may help you in your prayers, that the official prayer format was changed about 7 years ago or so, where you would have a prayer where you would mention the divine, you would state what you wanted to give up, you would affirm what your good is, and then you would release that out to the universe knowing that it's all done. Well, the big thing is that negative second step. We don't do that anymore. You just give the affirmation of your divine good, whatever that is, demand it, and then release that. So that'll save you a step when you're praying. We have continued this year in 2023 with live services. We've only had to Zoom one time because of weather. Or is that this year? Sorry. Okay. Not all the statistics I have in my head. As you know, after COVID, we had gone to fully Zooming for a very long time until basically almost 2021. And we had this wonderful home to use with, well, all of this symbolism that I kind of I groove on because I've taken a look at the different paths, Buddhism, Sikhism, Judaism, and I just have this feeling here of such warmth enjoying this space and the love that this co-host has for us. We started to have more community events again. We did the Thanksgiving dinner and open mic, and thank you very much to Stephanie Roy for hosting that and doing the comedy shop that you put on. We did have a holiday party also, and it is nice to be able to get together with people again. We had good turnouts at both. We continue to have a roster of 5 to 6 worship team speakers that rotate, and then we get amazing guest speakers. So that is enough to keep us focused with our spiritual leadership and to attract people and keep people interested in what's being said. I want to thank them so much. Our minister search team, Amy Joslin is the chair, Nancy Reese, Susan Coburn, Mickey Lucia, Tom Baldwin, the staff and board of trustees. We had 2 applicants last year, Reverend Arlene Mayer, who is of Unity of Orange County, California, and also Savannah, Georgia, sort of. We never quite got to the point with her to bring her to you because she had decided during the process of interviewing, and we checked her references, and we were about to do the candidate weekend, and she realized that with changes in her life, she had a better calling to do traveling and speaking at different churches. So she is kind of bopping around different parts of the country, and she may come here to speak for us at some point. We also had a second applicant, Reverend Sharon Renee, who you probably heard about just recently. We've scheduled that candidate weekend for Palm Sunday, and you'll get to know her. And just to keep things going, we did update our listing for the position with Unity Worldwide Ministries in June. And there has been some input and there has been activity from those two candidates that we got. Reverend Sharon, she began her Unity path at age 15. And I'm not going to read all of this to you. You can check that out. But she did feel the calling strong enough that in 2019, she decided to go down that path and became ordained in 2022. She had started a spiritual church of her own prior to that. She has 35 years as a professional intuitive medium. From that, she has a unique perspective that she can bring to other programs and pursuits in her life, separate from her being a Unity minister. She's seeking a spiritual community dedicated to the growth, open to concepts like prosperity, manifestation, personal development, and Unity teachings. And her approach is vibrant and engaging with a strong sense of humor, and I think you're going to experience that when you come on that weekend for her service and her workshop and the Q&A. I think you're going to be delighted. And look on YouTube, search for Unity of Dayton, Ohio, and you'll find recordings there of some of her services. Property-wise, we did have 4 separate properties that we examined last year, and I think actually one of them I'm kind of popping in. We looked at one last weekend in Kensington, and they just didn't match. There was too much expense, there was too much rebuilding to do. The team of the property search team, which I didn't call out yet. It's up on the screen. Thank you. Nancy Reese, Amy Joslin, Susan Coburn, Tom Baldwin, and staff and Board of Trustees. And Mickey's dropped that one. Okay. And Lynette. Yeah, so again, properties are coming to us. Nothing has really settled. Nothing has been our property yet. But we're in the flow. Everybody can feel the excitement when we hear about a new property. And I have no doubts that the right property is going to flow right into our hands when we need to. We have a wonderful situation here. It's flexible. We can do training and classes after hours, different evenings. Friday night into Saturday is a little tough because it's kind of booked here. But I invite you all to keep that higher frequency and openness for this property to come to us. And I guess with that, I'm going to turn this over to operations. Mr. Stan Roble.
Thank you, Mark. I stand in the presence. Thank you. And I will follow Mark's lead and also be very brief. And I'm always around if anyone has any questions about the details. The board and I try to be as transparent as possible with financial information as we are allowed to. And part of what I will do will give you a frank discussion of where we stand today and how the board and I plan to go forward. So I'll start out. We have a deep respect for the people who put together the Macy Street property. And as part of that deep respect, we try to be the best stewards we possibly can be for the money that we received when that property was sold. So part of what I'll tell you today is how we've been stewards of that money. We've tried to keep expenses to a minimum. Again, Mark Rosen has been very instrumental in cutting costs for the website and for the donor database. And I've worked with Mark Schneider to get the Microsoft products for our email, which are given to us for free. As a nonprofit, we qualify to be members of the Microsoft nonprofit organizations. And so they give us a lot of software for free. It's pretty hard to beat that price. And so we've cut expenses down pretty much to the absolute minimum. And still, as we'll see, the finances are such that our donations don't quite rise to that level. And I'll give you some of those details. So if we go to the next slide. I'll start with the property sales. And basically, we took the $800,000 that we received for the Macy Street property and divided it into 4 tranches. And each tranche started as a $200,000 investment. And at first, we put this into a money market fund because 2 years ago, that was where we got the highest interest rate. When the Federal Reserve started raising interest rates, we decided to take advantage of that. So in the last 2 years, we've invested in treasury bills and CDs. At the moment, we find that CDs pay the higher rates because rates have actually started to come down just a little bit. And we have divided each investment, we have laddered the investment so that each one matures at each quarter of the year. So we have one that just matured at the end of January. That was a 1-year note, treasury bill note that we got some interest for. And the rest are now all 1-year investments. They're all in CDs because that's where we got the better return. And we've got more than 5% for each of those CDs. So that's income that we're continuing to generate. Last year, we had interest, at a smaller level that we simply rolled over into these investments. So you see some of those investments have moved beyond the 200,000 level. A couple are 210, and one is 206. So that reflects the interest that we took last year and reinvested. So we have rolled those investments over so that we maximize the principal we have available if we ever buy a property again. So, but this year we're kind of at the crossroads. Last year was also the last year that we had the tax credits from the pandemic. So the federal government actually provided us money to keep us in operation during the pandemic. And we used those monies. There was some that came in 2022, and the last 2 checks came in 2023. And in 2023, it happened that that money was crucial in keeping us in the black. And so, the pandemic is over. That money will no longer be available. So that's the big hole that we're seeing in the budget right now. So this money we depended on for the last 2 years, we no longer have access to. We do, however, have a little more money in the interest income from the investments I was referring to earlier. So that is money that the board has authorized so far. The interest from the first tranche, which came due in January, we received about $10,000 in interest, but the board authorized $9,000 of that money to be added to the checking account, basically where I can use it for operational expenses. So that's a recognition that we're going to have to dip into this money in the coming year. And the question is that the board is facing is, even though we've cut costs, we still need donations to increase to avoid dipping more into that money. So that's where we stand right now. And we haven't guaranteed that we're going to use that money. That will be a month-by-month decision that the board will look at things and decide whether it's necessary or not. That $9,000 right now is sitting in savings. We had enough donations in February especially. January was pretty tough, but February has been very nice. And the donations today were a little bit higher than usual. Some people, I think, gave for the entire year in the early part of the year, so you got to be careful to extrapolate that too much. So let's go to the next slide, and I'll start talking about donation money. Basically, this slide, the only thing this slide is intended to show is that our investments have increased. You know, because of this interest we've earned and the fact that we rolled it over, we have a bigger pot of money than we started with. So, so far so good. Next slide, please. And the savings account, we started with $50,000 in savings just as a, partly as something earmarked for the first year of a minister's salary. But so, since we didn't hire a minister last year, I've been using it as a buffer. Whenever I needed money to cover expenses, I would take it from savings, because that was the easiest thing to do, and it was there. So at some point, the board asked me for a detailed rendering of what I borrowed from savings to cover expenses, and I provided that to them. That slide was kind of like the summary of that. So now we go to my colorful slide of the expenses and income. In 2022, we actually had some high expenses in the middle of the year. That's when our insurance bill comes due. So we did pay, we save money when we pay the insurance premium all at, for the whole year at once. A lot of you experienced the same thing. So I did that for Unity, and that's the reason why the red peaked last year. So we also had tax credit checks and also a very large check from our most generous donor in the early part of last year that made those two peaks at the beginning, but the rest of the year was pretty disappointing. That's what we have to deal with. And last year was actually a little bit different. The peaks came a little bit later and were smaller, but again, that one green peak there in the middle of the year, that was the last two tax credit checks. And we also had a big check from our largest donor too, so it kind of compounded. So overall though, at the very end of the year, we had a little bump for Christmas. In the past, in years past, we used to have a very large peak at the very end of the year. I've been a little more than disappointed that we haven't quite attained that level of generosity in the last 2, 3, probably 4 years. So that's one thing we were trying to address by doing, at the end of the year, I actually did an appeal letter where I sent a letter to 400 people on our mailing list and specifically asked them for donations. And again, I have to say that the results of that were actually pretty disappointing. The people in this room are basically the core people who are donating to Unity on the River. And it's my understanding is that everyone is pretty much giving what they are able to give. The people in this room, I think, are the dedicated followers and practitioners of unity principles and are tithing to the greatest extent. So I thank you all for what you've been giving to this church. It's very much appreciated. And so how do we move forward in this situation? So the board has looked at things, and even though we have expenses that are pretty low, we've had to cut them further. So two of the biggest items in the budget are the money that we pay to the musicians and my own salary. So I've voluntarily taken a 25% cut in my salary. So I'm back to working only 3 days per week. And I've had to dig into my early retirement funds to make that work. So I'm happy to do that. That's part of my contribution to Unity on the River. And we've also asked the music team to cut $6,000 from their budget. So these are not decisions that were taken lightly. And we're trying to cut expenses without cutting our own future out. So that's the balance that the board has to make. And that's the challenge they've been presented with this set of facts. So welcome to the new board members. Yes. So, part of the way out of this is to increase the number of people that come to our church. We've tried to do that with classes, with speakers, and by putting on a very professional kind of service. And the worship team has been very crucial in making that happen, so thanks to them. And that's all part of, and the other thing that Phyllis has stepped up to do is to create the connections team. And that's really an important thing. I felt very welcomed when I first came to this church. It really felt like home when I first came here. And that has always been a cherished part of my memory, and part of my dedication to Unity is based on that. So, and I think a lot of you have had similar experience, and we just need to expand the number of people. We have a good core group. We need to bring more people in, and I think the board would agree. So Mark is doing what he can. Mark Rosen is doing what he can on social media. I've been doing what I can with the appeal letter. As people come to classes and workshops, they get added to our database, and we are able to send them letters in the future. So I'll try and do a better job of doing that. I've noticed that Unity Worldwide sends a little donation tab with their letter when they ask for donations, so I may do something similar for us. And we're all trying to make this better with very little resources on the whole. So I thank Meg for her contribution. I thank Mark Rosen for his contribution, and Brian and the board for their support as we proceed along these paths. So I think I'm done, unless you want to discuss the budget in detail. And I'll talk about this. If you look at the breakdown of donations, one thing about having all the donations in a database is I can do things like this. So the blue, the dark blue and the orange are each one person. And that's the amount, so we have two people who are responsible for half of our budget. That's, you know, we appreciate those two people. We have 15 people, and most of them are here, who are responsible for 3/4 of our budget. And 24, you know, there's a bucket of 9, there's a bucket of 24, there are 47. We have a total of 97 people giving to us each year. That's happened for the last 2 or 3 years. So we have people who are sharing their treasure with us. So the question is whether they can give more. But I think probably the better response is getting new people into the, to come to this church. So we ask your help in attracting those people and in, you know, invite your friends, invite whoever else can be. I've noticed some people, we get some new people every service, it seems. We need to keep them coming back. Okay, so I'll ask if there are any questions. I can talk about the details of the budget. We've got a summary slide after that. Ann, did you have a question?
Will you put that information about the amount of people contributing the amounts and publicize it? I find that very striking.
Okay,
And
that's in the slide pack that everyone was given. Did we give everyone?
other people next week.
Okay,
We can possibly put that on the webpage with financials and that sort of thing.
certainly, certainly, thank you. Anyone else?
If you have a quick question, call it out and we'll paraphrase it into the microphone for the strangers. If you have a long, complicated question, no. Then we'll bring it back to you.
I don't have a question. I have a response. In the past, we have had fundraisers that we made $10,000, $15,000, like the gala.
Yes.
Bring that back. Bring back fundraisers.
Okay, Christine is asking us to bring fundraisers back like the gala. So one thing we haven't done, partly because of the pandemic, was put on a gala. So we put on the Thanksgiving and Christmas parties as a substitute. But maybe it's time to do that. Can we count on you to champion that? Okay, all right. All right. Well, we did do a wreath auction. Bigger and grander. Okay. All right. This is basically a text version of the pie chart. Yeah, keep going. Further slides, please. Keep going. Oh, I'll talk about the endowment fund. Basically, we created the endowment fund in 2020. We actually got some stock bequeathed to us in 2012, and that money was sitting in Exxon stock for many years. And then when I finally became aware of it, I said, we needed an endowment fund. And so we put it in a portfolio, and we actually, you know, this is kind of a prosperity lesson in itself. Part of what our intent with the endowment fund was to invest this money in clean energy. And when we proposed an ETF, there was a newly created ETF for clean energy that we proposed to the broker. And the broker said, oh, I'm sorry, we can't let you invest in that because there's not enough track record for that ETF for us to be comfortable in recommending that. So what I did is look at the holdings of that ETF, and one of them was Tesla, and it happened to be just the perfect moment to invest in Tesla. So we earned a 545% return on that investment. So that was, yeah, that's positioning ourselves to receive abundance. And so that was a very interesting lesson in prosperity. In the meantime, we diversified that portfolio and made it a more safe investment for the longer term. And that has done well. You know, as the S&P hit a record recently, that's our biggest holding is an S&P index fund. We also have some clean energy funds, and some of that has matured a bit, so we were able to invest in those. So that money is there for capital projects and for emergency uses. The board has already used some of it for emergency uses and then repaid it later. Before we actually received the property sale money, we actually had a shortfall, and we used that money to cover that short period. So it's there if we need it. That can be added to the property sale money if we find the right property. So we have resources, we just need to be good stewards of it. So please go ahead. And now Jim McQuaid is our treasurer, but he's not here today, so I'm filling in for him. This is a summary of the budget, and it kind of tells us what we're able to see how much we earned last year in the Sunday service, in the mail-ins, in the online donations. Each of those have been slowly going up. So we appreciate that. One big positive was the tax credit money, so we don't have that anymore. So that's really the big change we expect. And the estimate of the interest income is probably pretty conservative, but again, we're trying to minimize that. As long as we have donations to cover things, we won't need to use that money. Next slide, please. So this is the whole, we have total income of about $200,000. And worship expense includes the rent for this place and the speakers that we pay for. We have some marketing expense. We have administrative expense. You know, it costs money to have the donor database and the telephones and the other things. And, basically we're forecasting, even with the cuts we're proposing, that we have a deficit of $7,850. So that's the work the board and I have been doing to try and estimate what next year is. You know, we saw from the earlier slides that predicting this with accuracy is nearly impossible. But we do our best with the information we have, and the information we have is pretty good. So we're doing that. Any questions? I believe that's the end.
So, those are the facts. Those are the facts. First commandment, thou shalt have no other God before me, God says. When we just talk about lack and limitation, we are praying to other gods. And I know those are the facts, and and the board has to deal with that. But let's look, it's not going to be people. It's not, we've got to see with the eyes behind the eyes, hear with the ears behind the ears, feel with the heart behind the heart, so we can see the impossible, so we can hear the inaudible, and so we can do the impossible. Yeah, God is our source. So let's look at and I think maybe this is coming up. Visioning Peter suggested visioning for this place. We do not have a vision for the property. I think that's a really, really important thing for us to do before we go out look for vision. But prayer groups. Can we get ourselves into prayer groups? Can we see the highest consciousness? Can we see what's possible? Can we raise our vibration? Can we uplift our level of thinking? Because it's not going to be the facts that get us anywhere. It's not going to be the people coming in even. It's going to be God. God is our source. That's where we need to be looking. Okay. Thank you. I know. And I don't want to diss anything. I know all this is important information, and I'm grateful to you, Stan.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Stan. And I was going to say, do not be dismayed by these facts, by these numbers. And one of the things the board does is has to look at these real figures and make some decisions to try to guide the church down the best path. But we also know that that divine flow of the universe is there at any time. We have no worries. There's nothing to fear. There's a red minus 7,850 right now in the budget. It's a figure. It's a concept. It's not real. So, and we do know that. Yeah. So by attracting and keeping the flow of the divine and the universe through us, it will come. We have no doubt about that. Next slide, please. For this year, I want to get into a question? You are losing it. Okay. Thank you. I'm not practiced with a microphone, so when it's loud, I back off. No, the request was to have it close. So now we come to the point where our board nomination committee has brought us two prospects. One is a returning member, Sharon Maroney. Sharon has been on the board. She just took a year off because she stayed on 7 years of what should have been a 6-year term due to, whatever was happening a couple of years ago. And our second candidate here is Lynette Culverhouse. Now, Lynette was in the process for this about 3 years ago, and she decided to go with the social justice team so she could focus on that instead. And now things have aligned with the universe for her to come back to the board. So we are putting these two candidates up and proposing with any exiting members what the new board will look like. You may see my name there. I'm not going to cry. I'm not. So it has been my extreme honor to have served 11 1/4 years on the board of Unity of the River. Thank you. Thank you. This is an exceptional, what is that term? Exceptional idea in God's mind. It reaches out to everybody that comes through the door, and I'm just so honored that I could help with that in any way I could. Some people have agreed with me, some people have not agreed with me, and that's fine. I still love you. Hopefully you still love me. There was something I was giving up, and that will be the board duty. I'll stay on till the end of this quarter. We have Sharon Renee coming in, we've got Easter coming and all that stuff. And I will be available as a consult to this board, that if you vote in. But the thing that has been calling to me, particularly since our prayer chaplain co-lead stepped down last fall, was our chaplain team. Our prayer chaplain team, I need to devote my time and attention to that. In the fall, I attended Leilani Burt's prayer chaplain trainer training so that we can stay certified with the official Unity Worldwide Prayer Chaplain system. And with that is also a focus with our home and hospital visits. And we have all these great ideas that are coming up to redesign this, to birth a new one in our new environment. And I am so honored and excited to be doing that. I need to take a little bit of time off and get it into place. So I do ask that you'll let me step off 3 quarters early. And we're proposing a new board roster that is so strong and vibrant. Some of them, all of them, have this aura and excitement that with the new goal, what's that the overseeing statement for 2024? Come grow with us. Yes. These folks fit into that so well. Dr. Brad Fanger has stepped up to become president of the board. Jim McQuaid, and I apologize, I spelled his name wrong, is continuing on as treasurer. Mr. Tom Baldwin has stepped in as secretary. Thank you, Tom. Phyllis, you did a very wonderful job, and I know you have callings. We're talking to Phyllis about becoming vice president. I know that she would do a fantastic job, but it has to fit into her lifestyle. And then we have Lynette and then Sharon Maroney. So we need to take a vote for the members that are here as well as the ones online and record those. Do we have anyone who will motion to accept this board as it's listed? Peter has a motion and a second. Okay, thank you, Christina. Seconds. Can we have a raise of hands for members that say aye? I'm trying to count them really quick. Okay, and any nays? Let it be shown there are no nays. So I present to you the new Board of Unity on the River. Would you please stand up? Would you join us? Sharon, Lynette, can you join us? Do you want to say anything?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm back. Mark, I had the same emotion last year when I stepped off after 7 years, and I promised I would come back. I have missed you. Really missed you. So I promise that I will be better, stronger, more gracious, more humble, and I will always have your best interest at heart. I stepped away with your best interest at heart, and I will come back on this board with your best interest at heart. And I've already had conversations and said, hey, you know, when I come back, I'd like to do this. And when I come back, hey, we should talk about this. And you know what? We really should do this. So I am really excited. I'm excited to be a part of this amazing board. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss Mark. So, but Lynette, welcome.
Well, I got cold feet last night, and I thought, I can't do this. This is too big a job. And, but I do want to say thank you to these guys. I mean, they're short-handed guys. If anyone else wants to be on the board, step up. We need people. I just want to say that 45 years ago on April 10th, I walked into the halls of Alcoholics Anonymous and began my spiritual journey.
And I did a ton of searching. I became a Catholic for a while. I was a Quaker for a while. I did meditation and Buddhism. But it wasn't until I walked into a Unity on the River service that I felt like, now I'm home. It was like instant. And this is my spiritual foundation, my spiritual grounding. You are my spiritual support, and I feel very committed to this community and serving it in the best way that I can.
Oh, next slide, please. Now, I'll do this bit, eh? So we need 2 members of the church who will be on the board nominating committee for next year, this year. Your job is to hobnob, get people interested, tap them on the shoulder, and bring them onto the board, okay? Just like we did today with these 2 people. And we also need, well, let's do that. Who would like to step forward and be on that committee? Susan Coburn, are you online? Oh, somebody, it's easy. You'll love it. You get more brownies and or coffee. Yeah? Okay, we'll continue this conversation. Do we have a board member? Michelle? Michelle Gallant will step up. And we just need an alternate. Edith Hike. Thank you very much. Thank you. And a board member. Sharon, thank you very much. So we have our committee. And one more slide, I think. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for coming. Again, it's been my honor. You have a strong, vibrant council over here. Use them, talk to them, support them. And I guess we'll open up for the QA portion of this. If this runs too long, we have 8 minutes to respect our 1 o'clock time. We will have another meeting. There has already been a discussion with the board and the worship team to have at least quarterly meetings that are just town open forums, because we've kind of been missing that. Denise.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I just want to piggyback on what Shipley said about how to create. And I know the facts are the facts, Jack. I got that. And I heard something today that was upsetting to me, and that is about letting one of the musicians go. And I personally, it isn't my undying love for Meg that I say this, I don't think we should be cutting the budget for music by $6,000. I don't think we should do it. And I think we should find another way. The music is the core. We're all here as the core, but the music is such an important and instrumental part of what we do. And, instrumental, yes, I didn't mean to pun, but really, I mean, can we figure out a better way to be able to have what we want and what I believe people deserve as attendees? I spoke at Unity on the Cape a few weeks ago, and the last time I was there before a few weeks ago, they were really struggling. I mean, financially, like they didn't even know, and they own their building, and they were like, I don't even know if we can keep the doors open. And 2 weeks ago, it was a whole different story. And to Christine's point, they did 3 really successful fundraisers and made a boatload. I will commit to talking to Tony, finding out what he did and what they did and what we can do. And I will work with you, Christine, to do some ideas, and anybody who wants to, come together to figure out some ideas about how to do some fundraising. And fundraising will attract people. Fundraising will attract other people. And we do need, what if every one of us went on social media Thursday and said, hey, I'm going to Unity, blah, 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 come on down, we're doing this or we're doing that. You know, not just Stan doing social media and Mark Rosen, but every time I'm speaking, I'm here. And even every Sunday, if everybody who came said, hey, you know, I want to bring a friend, I got to show you what we're doing here. And that's why I think when people come here, and I know I've brought a lot of people to this church, one of the main things they talk about is the energy and the music. So I don't know what we can do about not letting Peter go, but short of paying him myself, I don't think that's a good idea either, but I did think about it. You know? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my little.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Let's have a fundraiser for the band. Have a music fundraiser. Why not? If Meg and John are up for it, we could plan something this for the summer or something, or the spring when the weather's nice. We don't have to have it here. We can have it someplace in a park or someplace. Yeah, a concert with musicians. We can invite other musicians. We know a lot of people that would help out. We'd have a drum circle. We could have all kinds of things. What do you think? And kirtan. We could do it all. Why not? Universal dances of peace if you want that. I know a dance leader.
Sure.
Thank you, Christine. I would like to talk about all the wonderful things we have here. We have an amazing music program with fantastic speakers and a group of people that surround us that love us no matter what, that love us through everything. And I truly believe if we talked that up, even between ourselves, we would be that magnet. And I'm not going to say we would, we are that magnet. Let's start now. I agree with you, Christine. I think because of circumstances, we haven't had a gala. And the things we had for auction don't compare to the wreaths. We had some amazing donations, and we gained from that. I don't think we have a true picture of who we are, because this is who we are. We are people that can do anything. Anything. Like Shipley will tell you, she didn't like to talk in front of people. And you know, for myself, I went through 11 years of school not speaking, all right? I didn't know I was going to be able to do a song like that this morning, but I said, okay, Sherry, go to it. And you know, you don't know until you try. So let's try. Let's try, do, right, Shipley? Let's do it. Instead of thinking of what like we've got everything that we need to be happy, right? So let's just find ways to bring joy and love and prosperity to ourselves and to this community. We are community-based. We are here in a synagogue, and we're helping them out. You know, there's a time and place for everything. I work at a place where sometimes you have to go in and get a situation under. I work with kids. Okay, so sometimes you have to get a situation that you have to really take an action. That happens. But one of the hardest things to do is waiting. When you have to wait someone out. And that waiting response can work miracles. You just let it happen. So let's plan what we'd like to do for fun. A gala. And I'll help you with that, Christine. Okay? Maybe we'll be co-leaders. Well, you know, who knows? I've never done that before either, but anything's possible. And let's have fun and talk to each other about how wonderful we are. And that will spread. It is so.
I don't know whether I'm stepping out of my role here, but as a community member, I want to say how shocked I am that we're contemplating losing a part of our music ministry. And guys, we are rich. We have $900,000. We can't afford to keep our music ministry going. It's nonsense. And whatever we have to do, we need to involve everyone. I think that everyone who comes here values the music enormously. And I think if everyone was involved in any decision that affects the music ministry in this way, would want to step forward. So I just think we put it out there and we invite people to support this incredible gift that we have. We are rich in money and we are rich in our resources and the gifts of the people we have here. So.
One thing I learned about fundraising, and don't ever put me on that kind of a committee, but one thing I learned when I lived in Calabasas, it was a wealthy area, they, instead of doing, you know, selling brownies or something like that, they would come up with their dream list of everything they wanted for the school, and they would figure out how much it was going to cost. And then they would ask for donations from the community. And believe me, when other people can visualize it too, what their money is going to be used for, it's so much more successful. I mean, maybe we could even do a fundraiser just for the music team, knowing what our situation is right now, you know? But I think we also need to really appreciate that we survived COVID, that we had this wonderful, charming synagogue, doesn't cost much, and we are growing. We're slowly growing. And maybe just the drop in the funding from the federal government is just a spur. Now we're ready to take the next step. So I want to be positive about that. And also, I think Mark Rosen came up with a good idea for putting testimonials from people who come to Unity, what their experience was like. And I just thought of it, Lynette, with your story about you tried all these other things and how you felt when you came to Unity. I had a similar experience, and I know a lot of other people did too. I think if everyone would send me a little blurb about what their experience was and has been at Unity, that's so different, so unique, so special, that's something that we could give to Mark Rosen and help him do marketing, really let people know what this place is. Thank you. Who wants this? Are we done? Okay. Ben? Ben?
Thank you. Social media is good for some things, but I've done sales in the past, and what I find is one-to-one conversations. That's what actually drives people to do things. Because people are being totally inundated with social media information. And one day they might get 20 things. They like this idea, then they like this one, they like this one. By the end of the day, it's gone. So to me, it's about actually physically talking to another person so they can see your excitement. Now that generates energy. And maybe what we could look at is like, maybe once a month, like the first Sunday or something like that. It's when we're inviting everyone to come in, new people to come in. And we have something a little special going downstairs once a month. You know, that could be a really cool way, because then it's not like a one and done and everybody forgets it. It's a continuous conveyor trying to invite people and have these little events and things, just to drive that energy. Anyway, that's my thought.
Let me just ask, raise your hand if you first came here because someone told you about Unity on the River. And okay, keep your hands up and look around. So most of the people came because they heard it from a friend. So that's going to be a very effective way for us to share this experience with other people that are looking for it.
It's just such an honor to be part of this community and to bring music every week. And I came because of the music. And when Curtis was here, and we started paying the members of the band very early on. We started providing a professional atmosphere to bring music that was really high level. And it's been more and more fun over the years, and it's really reached, I think, an incredible epitome of talent and energy, and it's kept us through this time when we don't have a minister. What I really feel in my soul is exactly what Shipley said, and that I know that you're all thinking deeply about how to maintain a level of keeping that $9,000 steady and strong and stuck there, so we've got it. I also believe you got to spend money to make money, and rather than cutting the budget, I feel strongly we should be increasing the budget to blast out and say, here we are. We've got this great band, we've got, we're bringing talent in to speak. Come. That's just my 2 cents. Don't get rid of musicians. Keep the budget up and expand it with a higher-minded consciousness. That's all my 2 cents.
I think we're done. Thank you all for coming. One more?
Hi, sorry, I apologize if I missed this because I've been running up and downstairs because my kids are still playing. But one thing that I notice, because it's a different angle when you're sitting on the other side of the pews, is there doesn't seem to be a lot of space for family. I don't believe there's any teen programs here, and I know that we don't have a children's program here. When we used to have the Amesbury location, my daughter would come with me every Sunday, and she asked at least once a month, when do I get to come back to church? And I don't see how you can really build a community if there's not a space for family. So that's my 1 point.
Yeah. So who's going to take that on? So that's the question. We would love to have a program like that. We need a volunteer to take it on. And the board has talked about the need for that, and we do want to do that. We do want to reach out to families. We need someone to take that on.
I want to say something just real quick. Again, and this is controversial, but you've got $900,000 in the bank. Why can't you pay someone to take care of the children? You're paying a band to play music. Pay someone to take care, advertise it, bring someone in. We had a children's leader, and we paid her. Robin was paid. She was a staff member. I personally, if we could talk hard numbers, and say we've got to take $10,000 out and pay somebody, get that going and bring people in, you're going to have families. I mean, spend the money to make the money.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Yeah. Did you want to say something? No. Okay. You have some experience in this.
Let me first say I love you, Meg, so don't take this personally at all. But
And I've worked with the kids, and I'm more than welcome. Well, I'd love to volunteer. If there were more kids, I would do it like once a month. I don't want to do it every week, but I will volunteer to help when I can. Since I have worked with the kids, just hiring a babysitter is not at all what the kids program was about. It was really about teaching them what everybody up here is contemplating and really cultivating their spirituality and their understanding of what's going on. So it's not just a babysitter thing. And I do know other people that are willing to volunteer, so it's not such a money cost. It's just like one person needs to really run the program, which nobody wants to commit every week, which I get that. But anyways, I just wanted to let you know that it's not just about getting a babysitter. All right. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Hi, I've got a request from the streamers to say what they're saying. Stand by. Nancy Reese, suggest and invite a friend summer picnic with art sales and 10% tithes and donation auction. Susan Coburn, I came because I saw a newspaper article many years ago about Unity on the River. I suggest that we make use of public print, interviews, photos. And that's what we have.
Did you? Okay.
Thank you. I'm not a member, and my wife drags me along here, but I come regardless. It seems we need some consistent speaking from up front, you know, a minister that you can hire that's going to be here every week. I feel like I'm attending a class where there's a different professor every week or every session, and it's hard to follow along. It's hard to get your ground underneath you with that. And I think that you really need somebody consistent, even if it isn't exactly what everybody agrees on, but as long as there's a majority or at least a plurality for this person, I think you really need someone here.
I'd like to speak. I feel quite differently. I am so inspired and moved the opportunity to have different speakers, different thinking, different ways that the unity concepts enter me and move me through the week and inspire me. I am very much for several speakers, so thank you.
And we welcome all paths, so yes.
Sorry, one thing I forgot to say that I wanted to say. Yeah, we have $900,000, but you have to remember, yeah, you do have to spend money to make money, but that $900,000 is to buy a new building if we ever do find a property. So we can't think in terms of we can keep taking money out of that money for stuff. We just have to remember that. I just wanted to say that.
But I think we need to remember that it's the interest that we let 9,000 came from, right? So it's made money, and I think that we should look at that more closely before we start making some cuts.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the idea has been to try not to touch that money, to let it accumulate interest because prices of properties are going up. So if we take the interest out, then we're going to have more of a chance we'll have a mortgage afterwards. Or once we grow, we can put that money back in. So those are the options. Those are the things we are looking at. And again, thank you for your feedback. And if that's all, we'll let you all go home. Thank you so much. Thank you. Pray out. Who'd like to pray us out? Mark.
Thank you again for attending. Take a deep breath. Be still. We hold our hearts out in gratitude to be able to come together in community for Unity on the River, whose bright, shining frequencies rock and illuminate Newburyport, Amesbury, the whole eastern course, around the entire world. And that love is carried by each and every one of us and shared with everything else in the universe of which we are all part. And we thank you, and so it is. Amen.